It's been 19 years to the month since the release of the first official WRC title that successfully replicated the feel of rally and the extremes of the championship stages and vehicles. A standout exclusive title for the PlayStation 2 from Evolution Studios, who are now coincidentally a Codemaster studio and could potentially get the WRC license again in 2023, when the licensing changes hands again. But now we're in 2020, we're on the 9th iteration of this current WRC series. Now in the hands of French developer KT Racing and publisher Nacon, formerly Kyloton and Big Ben Interactive respectively, and overall the 15th official WRC title. Now as an annual release, the series focuses much more on iteration than revelation, and alongside a burgeoning esports series and an expanding car and stage list, this continues to grow. While 2020 has put paid to many of the real motorsports debut tracks, the Safari Rally of Kenya, Japan and New Zealand are here to be enjoyed. But other than a few new tricks up its sleeve, what exactly does WRC 9 give you over its predecessor WRC 8 and even its competitor Dirt Rally 2.0? It needs to be said that the reason there's even a question of this is because WRC 8 was a surprisingly good game. An enjoyable and progressive career mode coupled with much improved handling, some brilliant representations of grip on different surfaces even compared to Codemasters' finest, and some excellent stage design that really got the claustrophobic and seated the pants feel of yeeting a turbo monstrosity in between the smallest of gaps. This all meant that WRC 9 had to bring a lot to the table to even be considered in this argument. And thankfully it does, in multiple iterative ways. You will not see a night and day improvement over WRC 8, and if you're thinking a year maketh the difference, then think again. Instead, KT Racing has rightly pulled their resources upon improving the base of their game, the feel, the presentation and the extras within that game. To build on that presentation, the career mode is still here and is admittedly barely touched. Not a bad thing, nor is it the best. A decent career mode can make or break a game, but with the lack of customization options or the ability to chance yourself as a privateer team and make your own way, you won't find a huge improvement over WRC 8. The objectives are relatively needless, save you getting fired, and the menu screens and colours have changed with the title change. But you can argue that you shouldn't fix something that isn't broken, and the career mode is not only serviceable, but bolstered with the much improved roster of junior category WRC competitors to challenge yourself against in your career. This is still better than other rally games on the market right now as well, when it comes to career progression. The presentation overall that I refer to is on track, or on the stage in this case. The lighting in the game is vastly improved, with much better ambient sunlight, less aggressive refractions and reflections from night stages with extreme water and rain, and much more natural looking stages with their weather effects. Is it, as advertised, the most realistic? I'm not sure. Certainly it's still the best feeling game when on snow, gravel and asphalt. The game feels much more lucid than Dirt Rally 2.0 in the way that your controller or wheel communicates the ground texture and the response of your wheels to that. One thing to point out is that your speedo in this game actually has two settings. Either actual speed, like your car, so what you're actually travelling at, or of the wheel speed as to what the rotation of your wheel is actually doing in kilometers or miles per hour. Which probably goes to show some way what exactly is under the hood of this game and how it's communicating that feel potentially better than what Dirt Rally 2.0 is currently offering. The cars themselves also respond much better to hitting the extremes of the stages, with banks, dips and cuts where you may tag an object, much less punishing, and less spins, and overall cars not rolling over with the potentially big connections that they may have. Is this realistic? Again, maybe not, but it certainly makes for a much better gaming experience and much less punishing than some of its competitors and even its previous iteration. Playing with a wheel feels good, as it did last year. Playing with a controller feels better than last year, although you still are prone to the occasional slight wiggle. Nothing as bad as WRC 8 last year. This is eminently more playable, than the previous game, but it is still there. It still feels a lot lighter, however, than the rather heavy control pad use that you have with Dirt 2.0, which again gives it a much easier entry for gamers who aren't really used to rally or want something less punishing. Menu options, even on console, are much improved, with great customization options available for the wheel controls, quite possibly due to the inclusion of Fanatec as their new wheel partner, which means that there is much more customization available with wheels compared to what there was previously with the game. As I reviewed this on a PlayStation 4 Pro, console crowds might be disappointed that at present there is only an obligatory 30 FPS frame rate, and that is capped, with the only graphical customization option being to turn off motion blur in post-processing. But it's worth noting that along with Dirt 5, this game will be one of the first to make the next generation leap, so I don't think it's fair to judge just yet on what this game is capable of on the console hardware, although PC gamers shouldn't have any issues at all. So graphically, it is a step up from WRC 8 with some better resolution points here and there, and certainly much more improvement in the lighting. It's not got anything in the region of Dirt Rally 2.0's refinement, but this could be due to the resources that KT Racing has on offer. In addition to the 2020 season lineup of cars and drivers, WRC 9 also offers 3 new countries, Kenya, New Zealand and Japan, to match up with the real WRC season's calendar as it was intended. The stages represent a really interesting change, with Japan rivaling Germany's intricacies, New Zealand offering a much greener gravel landscape than that of the Mediterranean regions, and Kenya at points equaling the harshness of Turkey and Argentina. Kenya especially is a very welcome addition, with some of the excellent changes from tight no-cut corners to wide suspension crunching savannas that invite the lead foot approach, and admittedly brutal exchanges of kinks. This does mean, however, that we have lost 3 of the countries from WRC 8, those being Spain and Australia, which also were not included in the 2020 WRC calendar, and Chile, which was. WRC 9 also bolsters its classic car selection with the inclusion of 15 cars, including Lancias, Citroens and Fords, although sadly lacking in Toyotas at the moment, Mitsubishis and Subarus. 5 of them were previously available on WRC 8 as bonuses or DLC. And this is where I started asking questions, because I'd seen a lot of this car selection and stage selection before. V-Rally 4 was another KT Racing release in 2018, and it included a Kenya stage and a Japan stage, and pretty much every car that's in the bonus lineup for WRC 9. So is it any different? Do we have a repeated asset scenario here? If you've played V-Rally 4, then you might have noticed that some of the stages do feel familiar to other WRC games. Indeed, Siberia has an almost copy-paste set of downhill hairpins from Monte Carlo in the WRC series, and it has to be said that even here there are some repeated assets. Buildings in Kenya stages have the same bright blue paint, and Japan has the same textured outer wall mimicking Germany's tight courses, and some of the same building designs. But, as we'll come on to, resources is a big factor here, especially for a studio the size of KT Racing. The arcade feel of those courses in V-Rally is not present in WRC 9, and instead there is a much more demanding course, with Japan especially not allowing any room for the odd tyre here or there. Not more repeated assets, more reuse of a couple of things, but really uniquely implemented in this new game. In addition, those cars feel a lot less arcadey compared to V-Rally 4, although the more selection that there is available, the more obvious it does become how limited KT Racing can be, and that they are not currently able to compete with the resources of Codemasters, especially when it comes to audio recording of things like engines, and even the detail of these cars, and the sleekness of the designs that you get in Dirt Rally 2.0. But nonetheless, they are all welcome additions to this game, and it's also worth noting that both new drivers and stages for Finland and Portugal are set to be added with 2 free updates over the course of the next few months to WRC 9. Overall, if you're a rally fan, then this is worth entertaining. If you've missed WRC8, then you should definitely leap to this, as it will feel like a revelation from previous official titles, and in some cases even to the Codemasters games. If you had WRC8, it's different enough to try, but at what point you want to leap is up to you. Launch on the Epic Games Store or later. Of course, WRC8 is about to be released on Steam. Either way, you'll be well rewarded. I can't speak for the console users and how next generation will pan out, but the game will be upgraded for free if you own it now on Xbox One or PlayStation 4. So that is a bonus if you did want to get it right now ahead of the next generation launch, and then see both a before and after of the potential improvements that will bring. If anything, it serves to tell us that the WRC franchise is currently in safe hands, and that another year or two might bring us potentially the best rally game that we could imagine. KT, however, are on borrowed time, and it's perfectly understandable if they didn't want to pull resources into a franchise that they're about to lose in future. But WRC 9 is better than WRC 8, and both are arguably better than Codemasters' Dirt Rally 2.0 in many ways. But what a result it would be for gamers if KT Racing did decide to end their tenure with an unbeatable run. For now though, this game makes for an enjoyable time. If you like this video or you have an opinion, feel free to leave a comment or find me on social media. Please like the video and subscribe if you want to see me do more videos on the racing game genre. Until then, stay safe and thanks for watching.